Today I need the wheels and tires off my Shelby GT350R. This tire here has got a puncture in it, and there's also some paint repair that needs to happen on all four wheels from shipping, unfortunately. I'm going to show you how to use my QuickJack 7000 TLX system to get this low profile car off the ground. This is what the system looks like in storage. As you can see, they hang from these stud mounts, really compact, really flush up against the wall. You've got your two QuickJacks and then your pump down here. Let's go get it set up on the car so you can see how it works. All right, we've got them down off the wall and ready to slide under the car. I'm gonna show you a couple of the configurable pieces when you're using this QuickJack system. I ordered the full setup, which comes with the low profile lift blocks, the taller profile lift blocks, as well as the truck lift. These lift blocks stack like Lego bricks and interlock, so you can set up for different heights. And then the truck pieces are also configurable. This middle collar comes out, so if you have a solid frame vehicle that you're lifting, these are the better option. If you're using pinch welds, which you can see it's made the marks in that guy, these lift blocks are going to be a better option for you. When you're setting these QuickJacks up, it's important that this lock bar be facing the outside of the vehicle so that you have access to it easily and don't have to reach under the car to unlock the system to drop. We're going to get this thing wrestled under there. This is the full size 7000 TLX system. This can lift basically up to half-ton pickup trucks, but it still goes low enough that this car, which only has about 3.5 inches of ground clearance at its lowest point up here up front, can still get under there and lift your sports cars, your dailies, and your light duty pickup trucks. Let's get down on the ground and get this slid into place. No matter which of the lift blocks you choose, there's some wiggle room around here where you can adjust depending on where the best position is to lift your vehicle. I've already lifted this car multiple times, so I already know that both of my blocks need to be slid as far inward as possible, and that this is about the right front to back spacing to lift this up. Another thing to keep in mind when you're lifting with these is they don't lift straight up. They scissor up and back or forward depending on which way you have it oriented on the vehicle, obviously. If you have a smooth surface like this epoxy garage floor, these slide pretty easily. I've seen some people with some nifty little roller mods. Unfortunately for me, that won't work because of just how low to the ground this car is. Alrighty, so both sides are slid underneath. I've got them lined up roughly the same distance from the front tire. It doesn't have to be exactly perfect, you want them pretty close, but both sides are gonna lift simultaneously, so it's really not critical that they be down to the millimeter exact. One thing you do want pretty accurate is you want the QuickJack parallel with the car. You don't want to be lifting off to one side or the other, and you don't want the QuickJacks misaligned from each other. There's a little bit of wiggle room in how much those blocks can shift around in their trays, but to be safe, which is your number one priority when lifting a car off the ground, everything should be parallel, straight, and you should be jacking from your widest allowable points by the manufacturer. This car has that pinch weld that runs the full length of the car here, and I have those jack bars installed underneath. So I'm just going to the end of each jack bar and lifting there. So even though this car is a little front heavy, it'll be really well balanced on these nice long QuickJacks. I'm just gonna show you how this works on my particular setup. I have these full length jacking rails up under the car. You can see they're peaking just below the pinch weld there. And it runs the full length of the pinch welds here. Alrighty, I've got both the QuickJacks in place. I've connected these Quick Connect high pressure hydraulic lines. This system runs on ATF, which is a hydraulic fluid. And you want to pick a central location for your pump. For me, right behind the car makes the most sense with the way that the hoses are oriented. You want to make sure that your hoses aren't anywhere that they're going to get pinched or potentially rolled over as the tires skid a little bit as the jacks lift the car forward or backward, depending on which way you have the jacks oriented. I'll show you real quick. We'll see how well this works one-handed. You just take these dust shields off, like so. Watch yourself. These lines have incredibly strong memory and they love to coil and snake all over the place. These high pressure fittings are quick connect, and all you do is press them straight on. They click, you rotate it a little bit for the safety detent to be engaged so that it can't accidentally come undone. Like I said earlier, these hoses really have a mind of their own. Sometimes they can be pretty tricky to get on. And then the last thing, ask me how I know, this will suck itself down and compress this reservoir if you don't open this vent up. If hypothetically you did that, which of course I never did, you can just use compressed air and re-expand it back to the shape that it's supposed to be. All right, before we actually lift the car, we need to break these lug nuts loose. Let's grab some tools. All right, we've got lug nuts loose, jacks are in place. Let's go ahead and get this off the ground. There are two lock bar positions. You're gonna see it hop the first of them here in just a moment. Just like that, you hear those two clicks. Everything's in place, the car is safe to set back down, and then it works just like a normal set of jack stands. No hydraulic pressure required to keep the car in the air. And after it's settled there for a second, and we're sure we're no longer relying on the hydraulics, we're safe to work under this car. All right, everything looks good. The car's nice and stable on here. Everything's solid. Let's take it up to that second position. Alrighty, the car is now lifted about 24 inches off the ground with this 7000 TLX system. We're on the second of the two jack stops. For reference, your first stop there will move your vehicle, if it's low to the ground like this one, forward about 6 inches, and the second position will move it forward about 12. Obviously, the ride height of the vehicle will dictate how far forward the jacks have to come before they make contact with the bottom of the vehicle. This car, it's almost instantly because I've only got 3.5 inches down there. One other safety precaution that I like to do when I'm using this system is, since there's no hydraulics required to hold the car up and it's effectively on two giant jack stands at this point, I actually like to come over and unplug it electrically. Just that way, the only way that this car could come down off of these lock bars is if somehow the pump was activated and it was lifted up so that these lock bars are released. Now, this car is completely safe to go under. We can do oil changes, minor maintenance. Obviously not enough room to do too much under here. For the vast majority of people, this 24 inches of extra clearance is more than enough room to do your oil changes, basic maintenance, brake, tire rotations, and whatnot. Speaking of which, let's get these tires off the car. All right, I have lug nuts that I really care about, so I never use power tools on these. Obviously, you can speed it up. These wheels are both hub-centric and lug-centric, so sometimes that hub can be a little sticky. And I just like to put these back so I don't lose them. All right, we've got the wheels off the car. They're ready to go in for service. All four of these wheels, unfortunately, have some very minor paint damage from the transporter incorrectly placing their straps to the wheels and not putting microfiber towels down to prevent scratching. And this tire, unfortunately, probably a week or two before I parked this car for the winter, picked up a screw in here. These are Pilot Sport 4S's. They're Y-rated tires, obviously high speed. Michelin claims that we can maintain the speed rating if it's in the right spot and it's properly repaired. So I'm gonna go to a good local tire shop and see if they can fix that for me. Okay, wheels and tires are back from the shop. Everything's polished up and looking good. The tire was repairable, so we're thankful for that one. Let's get this system set up so that we can lower the car back down on the ground. I'm gonna show you how these QuickJack locks work. And then once we're back on the ground and pulled out from underneath the car, I'll give a quick demo of how you bleed this system. Let's get her done. Alrighty, so the couple of things you want to keep in mind when you're getting ready to lower down your vehicle. The first thing is this jack is going to fold down like that as it lowers. You want to make sure that this hose isn't too close to that pivot point where it snakes out. You don't want to set your jack down on that first section of your hydraulic hose. The next thing is you want to make sure, again, you've got this looped out where your tire won't sit down on the hoses. And then the final thing is if you're like me and the car's been stored like this for a little while, you want to make sure to crack this vent open. This has a tendency to spit just a little bit if you have this reservoir completely full. So just kind of keep an eye on that. You may need some paper towels and stuff to clean up some dribbles once you're done there. And obviously we've got it plugged in as well. So you can see we've got everything routed happily. These lines can have a bit of a mind of their own. These connections, when there's no pressure in them, will rotate a little bit. So that's how I was able to get the loops snaked out. So everything's looking good. Let's get this car back on the ground. All right, step one for lowering the car is we're going to lift the vehicle until this lock bar has the pressure released from it. So we're gonna just gently lift here. And I just saw that bar shift a little bit. So now the tension is off that lock bar. All you have to do is lift up on it. This little cam will rotate around like that. And now this will glide over the lock pins that are welded into place on the QuickJack. So you only have to do that once. This will now lower all the way down to flat. You don't have to do that a second time for that lower lock position. Just got to make sure that that's done on both sides and we'll be ready to go. Okay, I threw a preemptive paper towel over our vent. Let's go ahead and get the car lowered down. Just watching to make sure that everything stays nice and even. We're gliding over that second lock pin right now. Go check my other side here. Make sure that the hose on this side isn't getting pinched by the jack. I just pull this hose back just a little bit. All right, looking good. And just like that, we're safe and sound back on the ground. Just real quick, this is what I'm talking about, that this little vent spout spits out just a little bit of ATF. It has a tendency to gurgle and bubble a little bit right at the bottom, but not a big deal. Just gotta wipe it off. All right, we've got the full system pulled out from underneath the car here. And first I'm gonna demo what it looks like if your system needs to be rebled. This is also something you have to do when you first buy the system, but just a quick demo of what it looks like in action. I'll raise both of these. Everything's nice and simultaneous. It's responsive, but watch what happens when I go to lower it. Without any weight on, obviously, they're slower. These should fall faster, and you can see this one is falling faster than this. That means we've got a little bit of air in these cylinders. QuickJacks has changed their bleeding procedure a little bit over the past couple of years. I'm going to show you how they currently recommend to do it. Just put some weight on this guy, and it'll come back down. Obviously, for me with my car, it's not a big issue because the car is so low to the ground that it basically pushes the jacks flat. But if you're with like a big pickup or something that these have to lift a foot even to touch the frame on the truck, obviously it's a pain in the butt to get these to go back down. And it's just nice when the system works smoothly. Alrighty, so to get started with this bleeding procedure, the first thing you're gonna wanna do is put some rags down below the bleeder screws. Of note, these Schrader valves up here are not the bleeder screws. It's up here at the top of the cylinder where your hydraulic hoses make connection. You don't need to elevate the QuickJacks or do any kind of lift procedures. They've done away with all of that nonsense in their new instructions. So the first thing we're gonna do is loosen these up. Once they're loose, we're gonna use the power unit to push hydraulic fluid through these cylinders until there's no air bubbles coming out of these screws. Also, it should go without saying, but do not try to crack these open when there's pressure inside the cylinders. You don't need to remove them, just crack them enough that some fluid starts to come out. Like that. Now we'll just give it a couple love taps of fluid. This is my problem child on this side, so I'm gonna watch this one closer. You can see some air coming out. I'm gonna put a little bit of pressure on this. Come over and watch this side. Make sure I don't see a bunch of air coming out of this one either. Nope. All right. Don't see any air bubbles anymore. Tighten these back up. These don't need to be Ooga Dooga Gorilla tight. Just snug. Alrighty. Hopefully your rag catches most of the fluid. I see a little bit made it to my floor, but that's okay. This is also a way to check if your fluid's clean. As you can see, my ATF is still shiny and pink, so don't need to do any fluid changes anytime soon, which is good. All right, now that we've done the bleeding process, and you may have to do that a couple times. If they're really stubborn, maybe elevate this end to get the top of that cylinder pointed upwards. But if you've already done the original fill procedure on these, you shouldn't have to do that. Let's see if they both return down to the ground by themselves now without weight. And just like that, now they lower themselves without me having to step on it. It's not the end of the world, it's just nice. Okay, the way that these quickly disconnect is you will see there is a ball detent on these hoses, and you have to line up the notch in the collar with that detent. And once you do that, you just pull on this collar. And off it comes. Now, when these hoses are brand new, they hardly seep anything, but as time has gone on and I've used this system more and more, there's always just a little bit of hydraulic fluid left in here. So just have a paper towel with you when you're pulling your system apart, wipe everything down, clean out your cap. Get your nasty bug cobwebs off of it. And get your dust shield back on. Goes for both sides of your connection, by the way. And don't forget to close your vent as well. And just like that, we've got everything hung back up on the wall. The system is incredibly compact, takes up hardly any space in your garage at all. These are just such a fantastic option for the DIYer that needs the ability to lift stuff off the ground for maintenance, maybe even some decent suspension and brake projects, tire rotations, things like that. But you don't have the headroom for a full lift system and you need something that's mobile. It's a great option. They're really dependable, and I have really enjoyed using them on everything from low profile sports cars all the way up to half-ton F-150s, Raptors, stuff like that as well. So hope you guys enjoyed watching. Have a great day.